I'm so excited. I love it. Let me make sure people are here.
That look okay?
You are totally fine. Oh, stuff freezing already. Oh my gosh, I just got super nervous. All right. Like I said, if I disappear, just start talking about your books until people
We are live, right?
We are.
Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another author hangout at the Book Refuge. Today, I'm so excited to have Dosal here. Cassandra's here to talk about her books, to talk about romance and what she loves about it. And yeah, we're just going to have some fun time. And like I had mentioned in my Instagram post too, we will be doing a spin for the giveaway. She generously is offering paperback copies of the series thus far, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm trying to work this out because I'm doing it on my phone, so I apologize. My laptop kind of died, so I'm trying to make sure I can see everybody and the comments and try to see myself too, and the Buke Refuge, and then. But yes, hi everybody.
Yes, we all my viewers are very familiar with technical difficulties around here because I have them all the time. I was telling Cassandra if I freeze and disappear, she can just chat with you guys for a minute or two and I'll be back. But I'm believing that won't happen tonight. Knock on wood, we'll be good. But it'll go 3 weeks where I'm fine and then it'll freeze a bunch of times in a row. So I have no idea. But as for the comments, I'll be able to lift this up. So hey, Charlotte. Well, thank you for staying awake for us. We love you. Thanks so much. Hey, Taylor. Welcome. Hi, Heather. I understand if your insomnia was caused by the end of a war.
Sorry.
Yes. We love it, though. Can hear you. Perfect. Yes. Yeah. And we don't want her to burn up. So if you hear her fan, just deal with it. We'll be okay.
Can you hear my fan too much?
No, not too much. I just mean there's the
I was like, I have a fan. I'm not trying to do a Britney moment. I'm so hot, so I got a fan on right now.
It is literally like that in so many places in the United States right now. There's heat waves, so we're all used to it. I did a readathon a couple of weeks ago, and 3 out of the 5 of us who were hosting all had our air conditioning go out the same week. Yeah. It was crazy. Everything was just happening. But anyway, like we normally do at these, everyone, if this is your first one with me, I know it's been a while since a hangout has worked out, but I have a list of questions that I ask every time, as well as some that some of you sent me. So we're going to get through those questions. If you have any questions for Cassandra as we go, you can put them in the chat. Otherwise, when I get through my questions, then I'll ask y'all again. So let's go ahead and dive into some of these. Montana's cooling off. Well, I hope so for you. Oh my gosh. So the first question I always like to ask, since this is a romance channel, is what was your romance reading journey? What kind of romances did you start with? How old were you? How was that?
All I've ever read mostly is romance, honestly. I actually started with Twilight.
That's right.
I am not ashamed at all. I was a junior in high school. Which one thing I do have to say is that I didn't read much English, I guess you could say, during early age. So when I did get interested in reading, and I was understanding and comprehending English very well or better, was when I was like, whoa. And then Twilight hit. And it was actually New Moon that got me reading, because I went to see the movie and it ended with him asking her to marry her. And then the movie just completely ended. And I was like, no way. And I found the next book. So I read out of order. I read book 3. That was my first book that I legit read for fun. Was book 3. And I just fell in love with reading, honestly. And since then, it was I went back and reread all of them and started the whole reading era of my life. And since then, I haven't stopped. I would burn my Kindle. I mean, just many of us will always say one more chapter. No, I mean, literally, I would just constantly be on my Kindle. same thing now with books. It's the romance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's so fun. Like no, number one, no shame ever. Whichever books get people into reading, I love. And
Yeah.
that's because I mean, Twilight isn't what got me into reading, but I was about the same age too. I think I was in like ninth or 10th grade when I got it because I was mostly reading like YA fantasy
Yeah.
and stuff, right? But it's funny you say how you read out of order because I actually did that with Outlander.
Oh, really?
Got into Outlander is that I had got the first like 8 episodes as like a gift. Someone gave me the first 8 episodes, and that ends with a cliffhanger with like Jamie like popping in the window or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I have to know what happens. So I bought the book and like read from that point on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I love the book so much. But
yeah, for me, it was definitely Twilight. I was, after that, it was over. I didn't really do much schoolwork. I just had a book on my nose. So there's that.
Yeah, I loved it.
So yeah, they saying yep to Twilight.
Yep. Oh my gosh, so many people do. That's why I was like, I know you're not alone because I know my viewers love that. But I like single-handedly got all of my friends and like my whole grade to read Twilight because I just was pushing it on everybody and borrowing my books from everybody.
So I love Twilight for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was gonna say. It's just such an accessible book. Like no matter what people say about it, it's very easy to read. So no matter
everywhere.
Yeah.
It was everywhere, and it was very like the way she writes is very like there's a lot of like obviously imagination going on or in a lot of detail and stuff, which was great. But it was also very straightforward, and oh man, it was very easier for me to like get into it, if that makes sense. But as soon as, like I said, I got it, I was like, whoa, reading's amazing. Forget what they make me read at school or, so on.
That's why I don't have a lot of patience when people now want to be snotty about it, which again, not any of my friends are. But when people want to be snotty about it, I'm like, I don't care what gets people into reading. I don't care if people want to pick apart how she did it or whatever. There's a reason why she sold almost as many books as the Bible and stuff like that.
I'm still a Team Edward. I still love Twilight. You will never, I can't, it's just like a time in your life that you will always remember. That makes sense. The Twilight era, if that makes sense, so.
Yeah, I love it. So then moving a little closer now. So what are some of your recent favorite romances you read?
Okay, so I haven't been reading as much as I used to, especially right now with this release. So I will say I've been falling behind on my reading. But the latest book I've read is Bone Island by Nicole Fiorina.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yes. Okay.
I just love her writing. So I will read anything that she comes out with. And of course, I'm friends with her. So whenever her books are just something that I just love. Her writing is something that I love. So that's one of the most recent ones that I've read. And I've started, which I can't even think the name of it right now. But I started a recent one. I just bought Fourth Wing, so I have to read that. I haven't even started that, but I haven't, and I'll probably start on it soon, actually, now that I've after this release. And but there's one book that I always talk about when I get the chance, and it's actually the one that got me into, I don't know if that's one of your questions, but it's the one that actually got me into writing.
Okay.
So this book, that's called Puddle. Huh?
Nope.
It was.
Next question.
Okay. I'm skipping along, so I'm sorry.
No. It's a natural flow. These are just questions. These are just conversation guides. So it's perfect.
Yes. Okay, great. So that one book, it's called Puddle Jumping. It is a romance, but it's very YA. All right. It's very I'm gonna call it sweet, but inspirational a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, I don't know what it was, but I guess I needed that book at that time of my life. If I don't know if that even makes sense, but after I read it, it's called Puddle Jumping. And I'm sorry, I can't, like, my words are like cluttering now. by Amber Johnson. And once I became an author, I literally reach out to her, and which anybody can, reach out to your author. Don't be afraid. They love to hear from everybody. But anyways, I reached out to her and I told her how much I loved her book and how much it's done for me and how much I wanted to like write because of it, because it changed. I don't know. So I messaged her and she was so happy to hear from me, from, just like the reader point of view. I even asked her, "Hey, would you sign this for me? I wanted a signed copy so bad," because she doesn't sell them like that. Mm-hmm. So I sent her my copy of it to her, and then she sent it back to me, and I will forever be thankful for that copy. But that book, I don't know, there was something about that book, and I can read it over and over. I freaking love that book. It is, I don't know, but as soon as I finished reading that, it literally got me thinking, like, it did something to me at that time of my life. And it was such a great message overall. And after reading it, I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? I want to do that to somebody. I wanted to be able to make somebody, I don't know, make a mark in somebody else's life, even if I'm not there personally. So I started writing What Do You See, which is a young adult romance. And it's what do you see, what do you regret, what do you want? And all of them, it's pretty much, even though it is a romance, there's a little bit teachable value lesson. Same thing even with The War Around Us. I always throw a little something in my books, which is the being, underestimated, and me telling you, me trying to put myself in other people's positions, or like being like, do not let them get to you, So I try to do that and bring a little bit of some kind of something, because that one person might actually needed to hear that. And I think that's what that book did to me. And after reading that book, it was gone. I was like, why not? I literally thought, why not? And I've been living on the why not since I read that book. So, yeah.
I love it. So, getting into kind of some writing questions too. So, what comes first for you, characters or the plot and situation and stuff?
So, my brother once told me, don't ever repeat this again, because you're going to go to a psych ward. But it's almost like they just talk to you. The characters just talk to you. And so I know where this. So I'm not a big plotter. I do plot, and I do know where the story's going. And I do have key points I have to hit, or I want to hit about what certain point of the story. And I always know the end. So like at the beginning and the end, and then the midpoint, very, very strong. But after that, it's all the characters. Like, it is just them. And it's so crazy to even say it that way, but they just do their own thing, honestly.
Well, you're not the only author who says that. So, I mean, all authors are a little bit crazy at having people in their heads. I mean, not every, but, at this point, I mean, I've interviewed like 30-ish authors, and a good amount of them say that. So, it might feel crazy to you, or your brother might think that.
Yeah, no, he's literally like, do not repeat that again. Telling me that fictional characters are talking to you.
He's just talking to the wrong people. Book people we know. We understand. Like,
I promise you they do. And they do their own thing. They there's times that I have to like go, wait a minute now, like back up now, but it's always trying to stay as true as I can to them. And like I said, it's gonna sound crazy, because in the end of the day, you're the one writing it. But I try not to change too much what comes out first. But I always make sure that the character stays true to itself, and try not to get too involved in like what I think would be better. No, I'm like, okay, they're doing it for a reason, and it always works out in the end. So it's just a matter of fact, letting it flow.
Sure. Well, because Priyanka actually wanted to know what the process for developing them. So you're saying you don't really do too much of that.
I do.
What do you do? Like how do you? What's that look like?
Okay, so as I mentioned, I do a lot of bullet points. All right. And I'll show you what I mean.
Nice. We're in her writing space, everyone. So this is perfect.
I actually don't think this one's it. Hold on one second. I'm extremely old school, so y'all just gonna have to like bear with me. Extremely old school. So I do everything on a notebook, and a spiral notebook. I don't know what it is, but something about these cheap spiral notebooks that are just like my best friends.
Yeah.
I have the memory of a fish. So I have to have a cheat sheet to make sure I'm right on. So like I have all my characters, and then it just keeps going. It's just when I have an idea, it goes into this, and as I'm writing, it comes back. So I'm telling you, it's like the worst. And then there's times where I get whenever I started actually writing on a spiral notebook. All right, so whenever I get stuck and I'm having like just issues writing, I go back to a piece of paper and I get a pen, and I'm not kidding you, I just start writing. And each book that I've written, they all have their own. I have so many notebooks now, and each book has its own books. So this one is actually for War Around Us and A Kingdom Before Us. But this one, same thing. It just starts off. I have a very unorganized, chaotic, but organized way of writing, I guess you could say. It works for me, but it's a little chaotic to a lot. But I do a lot of key points, a lot of bullet points, a lot of things that I know I want to say. There's times that there's just something that comes in my mind, and it's a quote or something that Luca had said or something that she would do. And I'm quickly like, it's like the street lamps. And I'm like, okay, what about the street lamps? And I'm like, oh my God, I understand now, And then it's almost like there's like a game between my brain to catch up. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it's a little chaotic. So yeah, I have a notebook for everything. And even though I do have a notes app, it doesn't do as good as I just love to cross something out, when I get to it. But yeah,
authors who do that too. I've talked to a few who they do their whole not just like an outline like they teach you in school. Like they'll do a detailed outline in a full on paper.
Now I did do that for A Bullet Between Us. I had more of an outline with A Bullet Between Us, but A Bullet Between Us was so specific. There was no room for nothing. While War Around Us was more of world developing, and there was a lot going on as well, but there was a lot of things, like I said, I just cross out. Like there's a phone call scene in the book, and I literally wrote phone call scene, and I'm like, he tells her about the soup. And I like that memory came, like that idea came, I wrote it down, and I knew, you're just like, as you're writing, you're crossing out things that I know are meant to happen at that time frame. But yeah, this is my chaotic way of plotting.
It's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. I love I've listened to some interviews with Diana Gabaldon, who, Lord willing, before I die or before she dies, I will interview her on my channel someday, speaking it into existence. But she talks about that when she starts each day, she just starts whatever's ready to come out, and then hopefully tries to guide it into what she really needs to be writing for the day.
Yeah.
That's how it gets going. And so I think that's interesting to see. Which, speaking of that, one of my other questions I love, and I know that as soon as I ask it, everyone's like, well, there isn't really one, but I still like asking. Like, what is it?
What's your favorite book?
Oh, no. No, I would never make you choose that. No, I would never make you choose that. But what is a typical or average day of writing for you in an ideal scenario? And I don't necessarily mean word count. I mean, how does the day go ideally for you? Not just when life intervenes, because, it's day to day is different.
Honestly, as long as I have as long as my computer's charged and is working, it's a great day. Okay. And I love my kiddos to death. But my best writing time is when they're at school.
Sure.
Obviously there's no like back and forth, or like I need to stop. So as long as I have consecutive hours, it's great. But once I stop, it just pulls me right out. And
Sure.
you know, going back with like certain things that I have trouble with a lot of times, even with like just the language part of it, is like I'm in the sound. I feel like everything's flowing great, but once I'm pull away from it, it just takes me a minute longer to like get back into that. So I do a lot of rereading. I reread like a chapter before going back to writing, just to make sure I'm feeling the mood. I'm feeling where I had left off. I can't just continue. I like to make sure I feel the same way I did when I stopped. Which I will say something about going back to the other question, but this one kind of blends a little bit. Even though I do kind of plot in bullet points and key points and my list, there's multiple times that I've added more to it, where when my betas or anybody reads it, they're like, you know what? I really think you should add this, and I panic because it's a domino effect, you know.
Right.
But I've had to do it with the war around us. There was 2 scenes that would have never been in there, and they were really key point scenes for the politics aspect of it. And I think that's one thing about this book is that even though it's a romance, I try to focus as well in the mafia politics world of it.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I didn't leave any questions on both ends. I didn't want it to just be all romance. I want to have a little bit more into it.
Right.
But that being said, I had to go back and I had to find out where to get it. And I think that was pretty stressful for a minute. But once I figure it out, I'm like, okay, let me go back to these keywords and key points and like, where would this fit best? Because once it gets to a certain length, the book just becomes one big chunk. And you're just like, I need to break this down on chunks.
Sure.
So yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I love it. I love the process. Stacey's pointing out, I love a good list. I have so many paper lists. Digital, it just isn't as satisfying to cross it off. I agree with this so much. I like me. Well, like, funny note, everyone. This giveaway was supposed to get posted a week or so ago, and I had it on a digital list on my phone. And if I would have had it on my notepad by my desk, I would have done it sooner. It all worked out. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a list checker offer too. I like to feel satisfied at night. And, you know, I don't know. There's just something about it. Stuff gets lost on your phone too easily, you know?
Yes,
So,
for sure.
That. I'll throw this question in too. Is reading other books simultaneously while writing affect your writing? Or does that why you have to not really read anything?
No, I do read. I do read while write. I just and that, like, right now, honestly, I think you put me on the spot, but if I go back into my room, I'll probably find like 4 books that I have read. But like, if you're talking, you know, like, you're like, okay, well, which book? I'm like, okay, my you know, my 5-star that I've just read, or not just read, but read a few months ago, was Bone Island. So I'm like, okay, that one right away. I can tell you everything about that book, you know. But other than that, it's whew, and I have reread Six of Crows.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a cast fan. I'm a huge The Crows fan. So I have reread that book. So whenever I have nothing else or I'm not in the mood for something, because that's the thing, I'm a mood reader now. Before it was just binge reading 24/7. Now I'm more of a mood reader. It depends. Like if I'm feeling sad or feeling, I'm gonna get a sad crying book. Or if I want something happy, I'm gonna get a rom-com. If I'm feeling like I need some action, I'm gonna go for a Mafia. So there's that. But so no, it doesn't necessarily affect my writing. It does take time, which if I have time, I'm trying to work on my book. And with being a mommy and a wifey, and just overall life, time is very limited. And as as chaotic as you see my my notes, our life is also a little chaotic. So on the fridge, I have like soccer or tennis lesson, practice, or SEAL camp, and it's just nonstop. And actually, this month I didn't do the calendar, which we were a little wild. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily mess the writing, but I do. If I'm writing a war, and when I was writing War Randos, I try to stick to dark romance. But I also be careful with it, because while I'm writing, I don't want to have an idea of something that I'm writing. I don't know. I don't like to blend too much. So if I do read it, even if I'm reading a dark romance, I try to keep away from the Mafia, just because I'm writing Mafia at the time. I don't know if that makes much sense.
Right, it's gonna be weird, but I just realized I could do that and we'd be closer. So
okay, yeah.
I never changed my settings on here. It's like, oh, I bet this will bring her closer. And
oh my gosh, yay!
I always use the other one, but I was like, I don't need to. There's only 2, because I usually have like a bunch of people on a live show. Anyway,
yeah.
I know. Sorry, technical things, everyone. Well, that's great though. I mean, I'm glad you're able to still read for pleasure a little bit,
Yeah.
Understandable.
I just try to focus a little bit more on writing, because I'm not like a super fast writer. I gotta take my time and stuff. So I'm already feel bad for the time frame that I'm like making people wait. Yeah. So I do try to, keep up with it. And I do read a lot of fantasy. So I try to stick with it, because it does help me get away from the similar tones of what I am writing, but it also helps me to continue the creativity and continue the word building and things like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I think you have to fill up your cup too. Like you have to have some stuff that's for you too,
Yes.
So I like that.
You know what I noticed? Because I think it's getting darker outside. Oh my gosh, I just got so bright. I'm about to say I have a light, but
we can see you just fine.
I think we're fine the way it is, because I just got blinded. Go ahead.
No, I was like, we're totally fine. So I wanted to ask this too, like, what made you want to switch from like YA to getting into like adult romance?
That was a big jump, actually.
Yeah,
it was a big jump, and it was very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to answer that. It just kind of happened. Like I said, I was a huge YA reader. So that puddle jumping book was what I was reading. It was YA. And I stuck to YA for like the longest. And then I started finding like the dark romance or the rom-coms and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay. Obviously the romance was getting spicier. And I was just iffy, which my friend from, way from the beginning, Nicole, she was like, I would tell her, I was like, I just don't think I can write something like that. Yeah. Like, there's no way. I'm like, and what about like my in-laws found out? I was like, what about my grandma, dude? And then she's like, oh, whatever. And I really don't think I can. So my first book was very sweet. And then I went to the second book, and it got spicier. And then the third book got more spicy for young adults, right? And then after that, I was like, okay, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's go to dark Mafia and dark romance. And I just like went for it. And I'm so happy I did. At the end of the day, like I said, be who just experience what you want to experience. If it works out, it doesn't work out. I mean, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think I did find, I've always been a big crime and mafia lover. Or organized crime, honestly, just necessarily not just mafia, but huge crime lover. I love documentaries. I love everything about it. So I got to thinking, I was like, I really would like to write this. I just didn't know if I could. I was very like, I'll write something very sweet. And I'm like, can I do this? And then as soon as I wrote that freaking prologue and A Bullet Between Eyes with Davina in that alley, I was like, oh my God, yes. I'm like, I got this. I can do this. I got so excited. I was like, I'm doing it. And it got to the point where like now it's just, you know, I don't want to just stick to one specific genre. I want, you know, I want to just see what, you know, kind of like a mood writer too.
What was it like when those characters popped up then? Like, what was it like after you turned around? Because you said they pop up to you. What was that like when the Mafia guys just showed up?
Okay.
Like, what are you guys doing here? What's happening?
So with Davina at first, I didn't know what she was. Like, I didn't know what kind of book it was, right? But me and my friend were talking about like books and stuff and ideas, and then the idea popped. And then once the idea popped, it's like, boom, Davina just appears, and I'm like, she's gonna be in Witsack, you know. And it wasn't yet Mafia. That's the thing. I mean, I knew I wanted to write a Mafia book, but I just didn't really understood it at the point. So when she came, it was just Davina, poor chick, you know, going through a lot, running from the Mafia. And then Elias shows up, and I'm like, now I got a Russian dude. And then after that, I was like, oh my God, now I have this Italian Mafia, like this Cosa Nostra going on. And then I was just like, oh man, like what is going on? And I just rolled with it, honestly. I said, why not? I mean,
if the story is there.
So that's exactly like when I tell you I'm going with a why not, I'm definitely a why not. Like, just go for it. I stopped. I think a lot of times I did get pulled back with like wondering, like, it was just more fear of it. And once I let go of that fear, I was able to just let them talk. I might just let them be. So that was definitely great.
I mean, it's definitely, you know, a big change for you, but it's also like people have always written darker than whatever you can come up with. That's what I always tell people too. Like, you just got to do what you got. So I want to throw this one in here. I like this. What did you do any kind of research for your Mafia romance?
Yes, of course. I have to. I want to say is one thing I do, or I like to do in my books, I know it's a fictional world, but I do try to be as realistic as possible. And while some things you're like, okay, seriously, you know, that can happen, you're like, come on, like this is not realistic at all. But those moments happen because of plot or like where the story's heading. But again, I like to stay as true as possible. I didn't, you know, on the whole Mafia aspect of it. And I had an idea, like I said, I love documentaries. I have a book. I have many of Mafia books that are actually non-fictional that I like to read. So I had a good idea.
Fascinating. It's fascinating stuff.
It is so fascinating. And then people are like, you're weird, dude. I'm like, I think it's great, you know? So that being said, what is it? I don't know. I'm trying to bring back the name, but anyways, so that I do read non-fictional books of the Mafia, watch documentaries, and just trying to keep as close as I can to the story, but also change some of the things from the real aspect of Mafia. So just like there's things that you won't know, like what really goes into a ritual, or like when someone actually gets initiated. We don't necessarily know, so we just have to wing it a little bit. And I try not to even go too much in detail because I do like to be as close as I can from reality on that aspect. But
there's a ex-Mafia guy, Michael Francis, who has a channel on YouTube, and he was in the Cosa Nostra for many years, and his stories are like, I watch his videos all the time. They're
really, oh my god,
yeah.
I am fascinated about it. Now this I'm not fascinated about because this is obviously an organization still going, but like cartels and things like that, I understand their not point of views, but I know what they're going for, or like how organized they are and things like that. They're just a little too close to home, so I try not to write too much about it. But
and sorry, hold on. Anyone who's watching too, just because we're fascination doesn't mean approval or that we want to join or we want to get into it. Fascinating in the same way true crime is fascinating to people. So just we're putting it out there for both of us. We're gushing about this, but not because we like it, because it's real and it's interesting.
Yes, and that's why I try to keep us close to the story, and why everybody was like, a lot of people were like, why was this? I did get somebody that said this book was gut-wrenching. Like, you didn't romanticize much of it. And I'm like,
good.
I was like,
that's good. We don't want you to go join it.
I mean, I want to stay as true as possible from that world. And, obviously going from that. Yeah. But no, I do not like violence like that, honestly. Very, but at the same time, I'm writing fiction. I'm not writing something that I believe in or something that I want to, whatever. Yeah. But anyways, yes.
Well, a lot of the Cosa Nostra, like their wives didn't even know what they were in. Like for real. Oh, no. Like they don't even know. Like that's a fantasy of ours that a woman would get to be as in it as it. Like Michael Franzi will say, it was a disgrace if any women were involved. Like you were a disgraceful man if you made your have to know about what was going on. Like he was ready to he was getting put in jail before his family even knew what he was a part of.
Yes.
Like it's not there aren't the arranged marriages stuff that we think.
Yes, but what it is fascinating, it's not the killing, it's not this, it's the organization that it takes to get to that point. That is to be able to go through all these. Oh man, that's what's fascinating, and get away with it. Well, not every, but you know what I mean. Got away with it for so long. Mm-hmm. That's what was so fascinating, and also get away. Just I don't know. To me, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
But yes.
No, we're just nerds. We're nerds. That's great. One of Michael Franzi in his book, one of his books is about how the government is a type of a mafia.
Yeah.
You pay your taxes or be threatened with imprisonment or death or something, and I was like, wow, I don't know if I could read that because it might hit too close.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want
the government is just an approved of form of mafia, basically.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that is great. Crazy talk here. All right, well, let me see. I always appreciate when authors do good research before writing. It always enriches the plot. You can tell who did their work and who didn't when you read. This is true. Especially when you're writing a story that has aspects you should look up. If you're writing a small town romance, you need to do. But if you're going to include things that do have basis in reality, if you write a doctor heroine, well, you got to know the right words to say if you're going to make her a doctor. It's the same with in a dark profession.
Well, I will say, I've read many Mafia books and stuff, and some, it just depends on who you're writing or reading, or the way others write. Some focuses more on the romance, some focuses more on certain things, or some try to do both. It's just depending on what you're looking for in reading.
Right.
And then you go from there. If you want to hear more of the politics, or if you're going to be more of the romance reader one,
Well, at the end of the day, we're romanticizing it to put in a romance. So you don't need as much
for sure.
Anyway. You're making these guys hot and romantic, and most of them are old fuddy-duddies who do gambling hacks. It's not as hot as it seems to us.
Not at all.
Not at all. Which is the point. All right. Okay. Let's get through this. See, we're getting through everything here. So so you mentioned this, and this was one of my questions anyway. You said you are kind of a mood writer too. So what are some plans for other subgenres of romance you have? Like, where are you wanting to go? I mean, obviously I need you to do a Kingdom Around Us soon or before.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna finish. I finished this series first, and then after that, I don't really talk much.
Maybe you don't know yet, but
yeah, I don't talk much. I'm gonna finish the series, and after that, I do have a book actually that I've been marinating for over a year.
Nice.
So it started. I already have this one. Actually, I've plotted a lot of it. There's no way I could go without a plot because there's so much going on. And I don't even know specifically what to call it. And of course, it's going to be a romance. I just don't know yet the other genre that it's going to be able to fit in. It's not going to be Mafia. But I do love writing gory details. So that sounds terrible. But I like to write fight scenes or something that kind of gets you gripping. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Other than that, after this, I might even write a rom-com. Let me get back into the fun.
I guess I have this worded. I have that question in here twice. I must want to clean it out. Of like, are there ones too that you want to get to someday? That's another way to word, I guess. Like, you don't have to tell us you're concrete of like, this is the one I'm writing next, but like, where do you want to go to? That's good.
I do want to dip my toes and like I said, I just don't know specifically in which subgenre it will go into, because I haven't really read something in that area.
Sure.
But I don't know. I really want to dip my toes in some kind of fantasy. I probably won't do like a fairy, and I probably won't do like a unicorn. Not necessarily like too fantasy, but a touch of fantasy that it's not from this world. Like, it's not out of this time. So maybe jumping out of the contemporary aspect of it, or about like actually building a whole world. I think that would be super cool, but not necessarily like a bit of fantasy and something, just so I can have free reign of a world. I don't know, I just think that's a lot of power and so much fun. So I would love to write something that is completely something I've created.
Hey, it's a lot more work, but it's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. I love that. All right, so a few of these now kind of like bounce around. So where's this one? Is there a place you've traveled that you want to write about? What's a setting you want to put in?
I War Around Us and A Bullet Between Us, it is based off Miami because I do love Miami. So when I went to Miami, fell in love with it. And I was like, there's so much money in this city. I was like, I want to write about it. And so that's why I based it off Miami. And of course, you have your 5 mafia families, which are in Vegas. And so, those are places that, one, it's great because it works out. But like outside of the country, I haven't really thought much of where to go from there. I would probably do a Spanish country, so I'll probably do like Colombia, Venezuela, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is from here, but just somewhere where there's that Mexico, and just somewhere where I can add a little bit of spice and pizzazz in there. I don't know. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, there aren't too many who've like done those. So like I've only read a few, like cartel or like that kind of aspect as well. I mean, not that it would have to be mafia in those places, but I mean those places.
Yeah.
A lot of that. So there's opportunity.
Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to get to Kingdom Before Us, because it's about to get. There's gonna be a lot more well, not a lot more. There's still gonna be a lot of romance. I'm gonna focus on that as well. But like I said, I want to keep the plot. I want to keep it not just romance. I want to have more, surrounding it, at least for them too, because there's just so specific. But yeah, I honestly can't wait for you guys to read the next book.
I love it.
It's gonna be fun.
Okay, like I said, I have a few random ones, people who are watching, and then I'll go back through the questions that have been getting put in. I've been ignoring those so I can get through mine. But I ask every author this. Well, every author I've interviewed does have a partner, so it works. Because I was like, would you tell us a little bit about your real love story? But I love asking to everybody. So
this is gonna be funny because I just did a trope thing. My anniversary just came up, and we have been together or married actually for 12 years. But I knew him like before, or we were friends before that, honestly. And we dated before we got married. So like I said, English is my second language. So when I met Justin, just thinking about it, going back to that time, I swear, I guess my voice was changing. This is going to be so embarrassing. So I didn't understand, but he would pick at me here and there, right? And I would walk by, and I would always, every morning, I would say, "Hey guys!" Every morning, I would stop by, or I would walk by where they hang out. And his best friend was my best friend at the time.
Okay.
So we had that one best friend in common. So that's how we met each other. That's how we knew each other.
How old were you?
I was 14, 15. So I was a freshman in high school. And he was something else.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah. He would never admit it, but he knows it. He asked me out. I said no the first time because I was like, my mom's gonna kill me. Like, there's no way. I have strict parents. But in the end, he just did. It was Justin. But anyways, every morning I'm like, "Hey guys," and I guess my voice would break in between the "Hey guys" or whatever. So, oh my God, that would make fun of me. He would make fun of me. And then later one day, he's just like, "You know, your voice cracks if you say 'Hey guys' every morning," and I'm like, "No." He goes, "Yeah." And then so it was a lot of laughs with him and I. I couldn't say cinnamon. I couldn't say aluminum. I couldn't say giraffe. I say giraffe and stuff. I couldn't say coyote. Coyote. I used to say coyote. So it was just like a lot of things that he would just die laughing, and I'm like, what did I say now? So honestly, and now gets to the point where he doesn't even notice. It just like I will say in and on at the wrong times, and then he won't even acknowledge him. Like he just not know it, like where
went now.
Yeah. But yeah, we've
so you met in high school then?
Yes, we met in high school. Been together ever since. No breaks, no nothing. We just kind of kept it going. And then we have 2 little ones. And other than that, I mean, he's my best friend, and we know each other. Like I know what he's gonna be thinking. Like we'll be like, okay. And he's very private, and I am too in a certain way. Like I don't, So social media is a big struggle sometimes for me. Just how much I want to, like, how much, it does suck sometimes, especially in this industry. So I'm trying to like get better on that. But he's super supportive, so it's nice.
Yeah. You have to set up boundaries though. That's
for sure.
You need to be more about your books than you just need to.
The
thing too, so we're live, but it's not a bad thing to say, but it's like some authors need to learn to do that because like you can get yourself in trouble when you put too much out. So it's better to just keep it as focused on your books as you can, even if that's not getting people as high as it is for some authors who share everything. Well, you also aren't risking as much too.
Yeah.
Like
also, I just like to keep my, protect a little bit my my household a little bit. My kids are still little, and at the end of the day, there's things that we can say that can hurt feelings. So I try to be very cautious in but I'm also very vocal. So I don't know if that makes sense. Like I try to like not, I don't want to, I don't know how to even explain it. I just don't know how to express what I'm feeling on a post and stuff. So I've had people say like, just try to be more personal. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be more personal. So unless I get to talking, it's very hard to like put it into words, which is funny because I write, but when it comes to me and my family, it's always like, oh.
Yeah, but fictional stuff is different. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Like people, you know, it's that thing of like parasocial relationships are a real thing. And so especially when authors start out really small and you make really good connections with people and then things change, and it's like, it's best to just keep, you know, it doesn't mean you can't be personal and kind of it's better to keep barriers.
Honestly, but my group is so small. Like it's very small because I'm very how do I explain it? I hate to say shy because if you meet me in person, I'm not shy at all. Right. But I literally talk to like one author, and that's my best friend since 2019. That we talk like nonstop every day, like texts and stuff. And other than that, I'm just terrified to like just be like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Or same thing with like readers. I know, like messaging back and forth, I'm cool with, but then at the same time, I'm like, okay, I overthink too much. I overthink a lot. So I instead of getting all the anxiety, I just try to like step back a little bit. Yeah. Like I said, it can be a little bit of a downfall in that aspect, but other than that, like I just try to stay as true as possible. Yeah. From all areas.
No, that makes sense. Yes. So then, do you have kind of a plan for the next one? What are you like hoping for? We're not making you commit to anything, but this is a question. What's the next one coming?
Okay, so my next book, that's coming out is going to be a kingdom before us. And it is part 2 of Katya and Luca. There's going to be a lot that's about to happen. A lot. So I will say, expect a lot of action, a lot of fighting back for her and to her. I don't know if that makes sense. But there's a lot of character development still from Luca and her too, but not as much, but definitely from Luca. And it, it's going to go as the time goes. There's a new element coming in. It's going to be pretty big. So I'm going to try to take that away. So there's just a lot of coming. So there's going to be a lot of action, lots of plotting going through this one for sure. I'm very excited. I don't know if that makes this. Does that answer the question at all?
Yeah. Well, do you have kind of a time frame you're hoping for it at all? Or what's your like stretch goal? Like what's the
Oh man. Okay, so I will not make you guys wait as long as I made you guys wait for this one. I promise. I promise. I know this one took a long time, but a lot happened. Even after I finished writing it, a lot happened afterwards. But I will not make you guys wait 2 years. It literally took 2 years. Not happening. I don't even think a year. Okay. Not from this release. So I am for sure hoping I can tackle it. My only issue is I don't want to, like I said, I'm not a fast writer. I mean, I can write 2,000 or 3,000 words in the small time frame that I usually write during the day and stuff. But I change so much. So my problem is going back. And it's like, I reread it and I'm like, oh, no, and I start again. So a lot of it, I know for a fact I have to like reel back from that. Yeah.
A lot of revising as you go.
Yes, because it's the first draft. I'm like, you can do that on the next draft. But I would love to have it by the very end of this year, the very beginning of this year. If I can do it sooner, amazing. But I just want to keep it realistic and I don't want to rush it. So that's my main thing is I don't like they don't deserve to be rushed.
Right.
Like I don't want to force something and then fall flat. I prefer for the reader to feel the anger and the agitation and like I like when somebody says I had to cross, I threw my that ending make me, throw my Kindle and I'm like, yes, I'm like, that makes me happy. So I just want to make sure I have enough emotion for the reader to feel.
Good.
So
Yeah. Okay, now we have some viewer questions. We'll try to get through these in a little bit faster. So these were going back to the beginning. So some of this is going to overlap what we talked about. So Taylor asked, do you write the beginning or the end first?
The beginning.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Some people are like, I have an idea of where the end is.
Well, I do write, like I've mentioned, I do write like little snippets or like little bits that come to my mind. And then I put it in the story when the time comes. But I have to write an order. Sure. But those are more like ideas or like parts that I know have to be in it.
Sure. Okay. Also, where are you from?
I am from Mexico. So I am Mexicana. And I was born and raised in Mexico until I moved to the U.S. During my 6th grade. Okay. And I learned English. So within a year. And my 6th grade teacher joked about it, but I still keep in contact with her. Used to make fun of me because I would walk around with a dictionary in my hand. I really did.
Hey, that's smart, man.
I really
they didn't have like Google Translate ready to go back.
Yeah, no, mine was literally a dictionary, and she actually still has it, and my name's on it and stuff, and I have little scribbles and stuff. She still has it to this day, and she still has it in her classroom.
So cute.
I think she does. But yeah, I
love that.
Yeah. So yes.
I love that.
That's where I'm from.
What advice do you have on becoming a published author? Always got a good author advice.
Be ready. Be ready. My favorite part of being an author is writing. Everything else, it is just, whew. You have the social media, all the research. You will learn to research. I mean, it's research after research, whether if it's finding out about Kindle Unlimited, if I'm going to there's just a lot. It's very broad, very big. It's a lot, but at the same time, it's so rewarding. And once you write, you just can't. You will always forever feel like you have to or you need to. And my biggest, which I'm sure a lot of people will say this, but it's write. Just write it. If you want to write it, just write it. Do not have any doubt in yourself. Just go for it and ask yourself, why not you? And it will happen. You got it.
I love that. Priyanka asked, what do you think about first person versus third person narration? It's an interesting question.
So I'm a first person writer, and my first series, which was the young adult contemporary, was a first person present tense. These new books that I write are first person past tense. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's something about past tense that gets me. There's something about it that puts me in that story so well. In my writing one day, it just jumped. And after that, I'm like, oh wow, like I don't think I can write present anymore after I started with these.
Past tense better too.
Third person. It's all cool in games when it's like a fantasy book, but it's very
That's exactly it.
But sometimes it is still hard.
Yeah,
it is still hard. But I'm still gonna, whatever it is, I'm still gonna give it a chance. And most likely, eventually, my mind will shut off about it, and will stop thinking of what sense it is, and it will just be reading it. So I just have to get to that point of whatever present, past, first person or third person that I'm reading. If I just read enough, my mind will catch up of what I'm reading.
I 1000% agree with you. For me, it's like historical romance and fantasy romance. I'm just used to them being third person. That's how it's been always, and I'm used to it. It's fine. But when I pick up like a contemporary romance or like any within that setting and it's like a third person, I feel more disconnected with it.
Yeah.
Which when you're reading fantasy or historical, I feel like it's already in your head that you're a bit disconnected because it's not right.
Yeah.
When I pick up
that world building though.
I want to be a part. Yes. Yeah.
That is a little crazy. Now I don't mind it. But now when there is a fantasy in first person, give it to me. Like I'm all for it. You know.
Yep.
But like I said, as long as I read enough, like get through a few pages, my mind eventually like switches, and then I'm good to go.
Well, it depends too, because like fantasy, it's understandable why it isn't. Like I get why it would be easier for the author because they want to be able to zoom out to show you everything.
Yeah.
If you do it in like first person, it's hard to get exposition across.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm interested to what you think with like Fourth Wing, because that's something people are divided on with that book, is how the exposition gets delivered. It has an interesting way how it gets delivered. I thought it was interesting.
Because I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah,
I just got it yesterday.
That's why I was like,
so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't gonna say how it's done. But
yeah, so we'll wait and see how.
Controversial, not controversial, but people are like, oh well, that was weird, and I was like, actually, I wouldn't have thought of that because I love that it was in first person.
If it's a first person, I'm gonna be happy. I mean, like, oh my god,
I love a first person, especially like the dragon as a first person is just great. But anywho, also, so this is a side note. I love reading fan fiction. I don't know if you like read that. Like I'm obsessed with Hermione fan fiction. I love it. And my point is that like 99% of all fan fiction I've read is always third person because they're like describing what's happening. So I found a fanfic that was in first person and I like squealed with joy. I was like, are you kidding me? They never write these in first person. It was like the best Christmas present ever.
That's awesome.
That story, but they're just always third person. I don't know who decided that they were, but I've been reading fiction for like almost a couple of years now and they're always third person. And then I found one that was first person and I was like, unless it's a self-insert. Like there's fan fiction that is a self-insert third person.
I got you.
It now, was Hermione and Draco. So
like for authors, whatever they feel comfortable with, I'm all for it. As a reader, I'm also like, I'll try anything. You know, but there, like you said, there is things that sometimes you're just used to it. But like I said, my mind just kind of just switches.
Yeah. So it just can take some time too, especially when you're really used to one or you're reading in one style a lot, and then it What are some authors that influence your work and style? I mean, you kind of shared one with us that inspired you anyway, but
yes, but that was young adult. Like, goodness, I can't even. I'm gonna have to pass on that one. There's nothing that's coming really to my mind, and I will say I think any book I read inspires me, just in general, because it gets my creativity, like it just opens your mind a little bit. So creativity just starts to like roam. So I do know that after I read, a lot of times ideas start to pop up, or a lot of, you're just like, oh wow, let me write that down real quick. So any reading will help me just get it going, or like just open up that gate. So yeah, I will definitely say that.
I love that. All right, just two more. Well, okay, someone asked another 3 more questions, and then we need to do the giveaway. I have that ready to go because then we gotta get this wrapped up. So, Stacy wanted to know how books are you planning for the Morettis? Do you have more past Luca and Katya that you hope to do? What's that?
So I had posted this on Instagram a while back. It was a picture of 4 books in there. I can't go too much in detail about it, but there is 4 books to the Moretti series so far. But I do have 4. There's already names of them. and I'm very excited for it. But the beautiful thing about creating this world and all these, because I feel like a war around us had so many characters. There were a lot of characters that were introduced, a lot. While Bullet Between Us was it was closer, but once they opened up that gate, it was like, whoo, all these characters, right? So that being said, the Moretti has literally opened up. New York has opened up. California has opened up. Vegas, and so on. So that being said, it just depends. It depends on how everything's going after the Moretti. We might get to hear about Enzo or hear about Arlo. Not Arlo, but Enzo and oh my God, my freaking mind is blanking. Well, I told you I have the worst brain, but when I put in the spot, it gets worse. Where
that's all right. That's all right. No, that's funny because there's one series I'm loving right now, and he keeps introducing these different mafia bosses and then giving them books. And there's already
Leo. I'm sorry, Leo. Leo is her brother. Oh my God, I forget.
There we go. So yeah, that's funny. And then we'll do this one. This one was funny. Do you ever have your friends or family read your drafts at all?
No. Oh, friends, yes. Family, no. Negative. Unless they're in the book world, I usually don't. Nobody gets to read anything. I've literally told my family and my in-laws, if you read my book, you're not to tell me. Like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. I just don't. Okay, it's just we're just not going to do it. Same thing with friends from like around. I'm like we don't talk about this. It's not a subject we talk about. But yeah, I do have a friend, Nicole. I talk about Nicole all the time, but she usually reads my books before anybody does. It's almost like it doesn't feel right without her overseeing it. And other than that, you got your bettas, which you start to grow close to them and so on. But I do love me a good somebody that will pick it. I want somebody to pick it apart. I mean, like, oh, and if you don't mind, like, add something positive in there for me,
right?
For my heart, but pick it apart, like just tear it apart until I can get it to that point. So yeah.
Well, your book doesn't get good if you won't have people like stab at it.
No, but there's it's tough. You can be a little, it is very tough to get somebody to critique it at such a raw point.
Right.
So you're just like, please, I just pour my soul into this. Can you just pick it apart? Stop thinking that you're gonna hurt my feelings. But if you don't mind, after 10 comments, say, oh, this was great. I was like, give me a little cookie somewhere along those lines.
I love it.
But I do think once you grow, I guess you could, once you grow close to that person or trust that person or whatever, you no longer have that fear or that you just like, okay, I know you care, give it to me. And you no longer need those high fives.
Right. That's good. All right. Well, now I'm going to share my screen here.
Yay!
So that we can do the giveaway, everybody. Okay. So I have everybody who had made a comment before the live show. Now, obviously, I wasn't able to check if these are all US people, but this is a US only. So if I reach out to you and you end up giving me an address that's outside the US, I will be spinning again. This one was US only this time. But let's go ahead and give it a spin. And even if the person isn't watching and you watch this back, I will reach out to you on Instagram and then get that information over to Cassandra so you can get your books, which is exciting. So let us give it a spin. I love doing giveaways. They're the best. Let's see. Who did we get? Maybe Reese.
Yay!
Woo!
I love the fireworks.
Right? Me too. I love using this thing. It makes me happy. I do this sometimes for when I'm trying to pick a book to read. I do a spinner wheel.
That's a great idea.
And it makes me feel like I won a prize when I pick a book, you know. I love doing that.
Makes you excited to start. You're like, yeah, it's starting a book.
I'm like, yeah, I was so happy. But okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having me. I had lots of fun. Thanks for
I love it.
asking all these questions and just getting to talk to me, talk books. It's always the best subject. So I really appreciate it.
Great. It's so great. Thank you everyone for watching, and Playback crew, thanks for watching this interview. I have links to Cassandra's socials and her website and her books down below, so definitely check her out. And yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Don't be shy. Like,
Good night, everybody.
Thank y'all.